Hello everyone, I've got some books today, so what I'm calling my little book sharing. So three of them have arrived this month, and then the others I've taken off of my bookshelf so that I can share some with you that I don't think I've shared before. Let's start with the new ones. So I'm just going to move some of these out of the way. And this was recommended to me by a lovely friend, and she has had hers for quite some time. I think she was saying that she feels it's one of the best books out there, and it's The Joy of Watercolor, a complete course in watercolor using your sketchbook as a workbook, by David Millard. Now, I actually got this through Amazon, but one of the second-hand sellers, so it cost me less than £5. So I was like, yes, it's a bargain. So let's have a little peek inside. And for a second-hand book, it's actually in wonderful condition. First published in 1983. So there we go. So what do we have? It says, this book is based on two very important experiences in my life: painting with the use of a sketchbook on trips around the world, and teaching watercolor workshops from coast to coast in the United States for over 9 years. Okay. So we've got a little bit about why keep a sketchbook. Then we've got begin by sketching outlines. You're probably not going to see this too well. Gradually adding shading, design shapes and abstract patterns, add simple tonal washes, working procedures, plan the whites and negative shapes, experiment with color mixtures, plan colors and color patterns, some color exercises, explore color through a color series, plan color with the mind's eye, compose with geometry, and then the advanced sketchbook, a review. So let's just take a little look. I think what is quite nice in this book is that it's all of the paragraphs are just small little paragraphs, and then you've got some photographs here. Now, many of them are in black and white. So here we are. Begin by sketching your outlines, and it talks about contour sketching, the 5-minute sketch, the 15-minute sketch, build up your memory, and then 5-minute contour lines, which is where you don't take the pencil off the paper. We've got freehand sketching, and this is about giving this all a practice. You've got the 5-minute freehand sketch. Plan your lines and your darks. How to place figures, make figures part of the dark pattern. I just think it's laid out so nicely, adding tone and accents. Speed sketching. And then there's crop your drawings. So instead of trying to get a whole scene in, if you use, bear with, something like this, or he's showing you that you can just, use your fingers. But something like this, these are cheap and cheerful to buy, where you close one eye and you hold it at arm's length, and that's kind of your little viewfinder. So you can choose which part of the scene, move it around, and decide which part of the scene you're going to do your sketch from. It even tells you how you can make one of those yourself. Gradually add shading. So we've got a little bit about landscapes here. But I think you can see it's all broken down into nice little chunks of information. And then you've got his actual sketches showing how he's done things. So yes, without going through the whole book, I won't go through the whole book, I'll just flip a few more pages. And we do have some, once you move on, there are some colour plates, which are rather lovely. So, and whites and negative spaces. These are all things that we, you know, gradually need to learn. I love these, what does he call them? Colour chickens or colour mixing chickens. That's it. That's what he calls it, mixing chickens. And to come up with your own little colour mixes. And he talks about a novice palette, an intermediate palette, and then we've got the advanced palette. Wow. So, you know, if you're wanting something, look at these, brilliant, that really breaks everything down little bit by little bit. I think this is almost like a little Bible. That's just stunning, by the way. I haven't read all the way through it. I haven't had it very long. I think this will be the book that I take away in September when I have my 5 days in a lovely lodge in the middle of nowhere. So there we go. The Joy of Watercolour by David Millard. I think that's, especially if you can find a second-hand one like I did, absolutely brilliant bargain. Right, let's move on. So another one that is new to me this month is this Just Draw Fine Liner. Oh, I'm dropping everything on the floor. Off to the side where you can't see, it's fine. This one's called Just Draw Fine Liner Art, and it's incredible illustrations crafted with fine liner pens by Liam Carver. Now, there are lots of these Just books, or similar type of books. So I already have this one, which is pen and ink, and it has exactly the same format, where at the beginning of each book it gives you all of the pictures and the page numbers, so you don't have to go hunting. You can just decide that's the one that I want to have a look at today. This one was Just Add Watercolour. I think I've done these books before, and you can see the same layout with all of these pages numbered so that you can decide that's the one that you want to have a look at. Look at that. That's very much like what I do. And the other one I have is Just Draw Botanicals. I will leave links to all of them, but I'm not going to go through all of them because I'm pretty sure I've already done these on previous book reviews. However, if any of you do want me to go through these in more detail, you can leave it down there in the comments. But this one, exactly the same format. So here we have got this, they call it a visual index, which is rather stunning. So you can decide which one you want to have a look at. So say, for example, I decide, okay, I like the look of that one. It's page 165. So I can go to 165, and there it is. And this is all about mixed media techniques. And there we get a proper view of the sketch. This was done using the digital equivalent of a fine liner pen, in actual fact. Interesting. But let's have a little bit of a flip through. It tells you how each one was done. And some of these are really quite wonderful. Look at that one, for example. I rather like that. This was by Dejvid Knežević, maybe. Hopefully I've said something similar to his name. And this is all about putting some little dots in places. And as we go off into the distance there, it's just dots, which might not show up on the screen so well. But I mean, some of these are just visually stunning. And I love the fact that it tells you how they've been done. So you can practice by, using these examples and then take that into your own work. But I think it's rather lovely. I do quite like a fine liner, like doing pen and wash. And I also like using my carbon platinum fountain pen, which is, you could use that instead of a fine liner. So I'm just flipping through here for some of the, but it's always lovely to have things that give you new ideas on how to use the materials that you've already got. And I just thought, yeah, most of us have got fine liners, so maybe this might be a really interesting little book to have on the bookshelf. There we go. Mine will be added, so I'll have 4 of those little books now. I think I'll leave that one to last. These were ones that I already had on my bookshelf, so let's start looking at these. This one is called Watercolour in Nature. Paint woodland, wildlife and botanicals with 20 beginner-friendly projects by Rosalie Hazlitt, who's a nature illustrator. And let's move my bookmark out of the way. You can see that with this one, this was published in 2021. Slow down and zoom in. That's just wonderful. So she's put together a collection of her recommended watercolour materials, along with a guide to some helpful ink and watercolour techniques that she uses in the projects in the book before you jump into the first lesson. So how to use the book, which I think is quite handy. We've got a bit about the paints. We've got other useful materials, an introduction to ink, and then some textures that we might want to use. Then we've got colours, warm hues, cool hues. You will have probably by now, although I am recording these videos quite far in advance, seen my video where I talk about warm, cool and neutral colour palettes. So it's good to see them like that. Making colours lighter or darker, building up layers, wet on dry, paint blending, creating highlights, colour mixing, and then we're into now let's paint. So these are the projects. You've got a daisy, an imperial moth, a fly agaric mushroom, a fiddlehead fern, a leaf sprig, a pipe vine swallowtail butterfly, a sassafras leaf, pine cone, praying mantis, moose antler, green frog, red-effed salamander, Canada warbler, cottontail rabbit, cute, great horned owl, land snail, monarch caterpillar and milkweed, wild blueberries, a wood duck, and a red fox. Here we go. So let's just take the daisy as our example. She gives you the colours that you might want to use, and it even tells you the skill that you will acquire. How to break down your subject into basic shapes to simplify the drawing process. So that's what we will learn from doing this daisy project. And then you can see how everything is broken down little bit by little bit until eventually we then start adding some colours in. And then we move on to our next project, which is the moth. So they are all done in exactly the same way, bit by bit by bit. I remember doing this moth when I bought the book, and the mushroom. It will be in a sketchbook somewhere. So I think this, because it breaks everything down, if you are someone that likes projects and, you know, demonstrations in your art books, if that's what you're looking for rather than just inspiration, then I think this hopefully will be one of those books that might take your fancy. So I will just flip through a few more of these pages to show you some of the projects there. Even our pine cone look, broken down really nicely. So I think that gives you an idea anyway of the way that this book is laid out. And if that's the kind of book that you like, then Watercolour in Nature by Rosalie Hazlett might be the one for you. So there's that one. If you are looking for something that is a little bit more abstract, then this one is Abstract Nature, Painting the Natural World with Acrylics, Watercolour and Mixed Media. So this is not just watercolour, and it's by Waltraud Noratill. So yes, this one, let's have a little look. Does it say when this was published? Doesn't actually say. Okay, well, I've had it a little while. It's not brand new, is what I'm going to say. So this book is broken down into materials and tools, followed by painting techniques, then inspiration, and then it goes through the seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So if you are liking mixed media, wow, I'd love to have a go at that. I mean, it looks like there is actual leaves in there. I think there are. Then you might really like this book. So as usual, we've got the materials and the paints and any additional materials you might need. And then it starts looking at painting techniques, using mixed media, watercolor painting style, using a spatula, which is always quite good with acrylic paint. I think it gives a slightly really different look to things. Collages and structure. And then we've got stamp printing with natural materials. So for instance, you might take a leaf and press that into the paint and it will leave the impression behind. Working with paste. So lots of information, you know, before you get started. Experimental techniques that you can use. So, wow, we can see adding like actual sunflower seeds into a sunflower painting, for example. Working with spray varnish. And we've got our inspiration part. And you can see these are the photographs. Inspiration throughout the year. These are just beautiful, aren't they? It just to kind of look at, really. And then through the seasons with flowers and trees. So we move into spring, and this is where we've got our step by steps. So this is the flowering dandelion, and it gives you 5 steps in order to complete your dandelion. You've got the poppy and wild cumin here. That one's got 7 steps to it. So each of the steps is just written down in this book. It's not broken up with pictures for each step. So if that is something that you were looking for, then this one probably isn't for you, because it is, you do just follow the written instructions. But you can see these are just beautiful. Moving into summer. Oh, look, sunflowers. We've got a meadow, lily pond. They're just lovely, 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 lovely. So yeah, moving into autumn, for example, we've got the birch forest there. And then for winter, we've got an abstract poppy, poinsettias, winter abstract, Virginia creeper in winter. There it is in a grey frame. That does help it, doesn't it? But look how different it looks in a green frame. So yes, sometimes the frame can make a difference. So then we've got just a gallery of his paintings there. Which, oh, hers. Oh, okay. Let's see. Waltraud Norta. Okay, so let me just say she is born and raised in Styria, Austria, and lives with her family in Schonering. There you go. Pretty lady. Okay. I don't know why I made a really bad assumption there. So apologies to everyone and the author. But there we go. Abstract nature. Still working with our abstracts. We've got painting abstract nature on canvas. This is obviously where I was going to have a go at something, or maybe did have a go at something. This is by Jane Betteridge. She was one of the first artists that I started following back in 2018, and I do have all of her books. I think her paintings are always stunning. So we've got an introduction, getting started, first steps into abstraction, texture, colour, deeper into abstraction, shape and line. I'm not sure whether there are projects in this one. It's been a while since I took it off the bookshelf. But as usual, we've got a little bit about paint and materials, and then a bit about applying paint to canvas and what happens if there's too much water, because this is all about painting on canvases rather than paper. Oh, look at this. Last of the Sun. Painting winter leaves. This one is Dimminsdale Wood. So these are just examples of techniques, and she's showing you where she's used that technique. The importance of sketchbooks and reference. Yes. Taking photographs. Making a sample book, portable kit, preparing to go. And then field experiments, further experiments outdoors, and then back in the studio. Look, wouldn't you? I would love it if my sketchbooks looked like this. That's just wonderful. Then she starts giving you some exercises to do. Exercise, movement and energy. Exercise, evoking peacefulness and calm. Then we move on to texture and how she achieves those textures and the materials that are needed for that. And then embedding materials in again, much like the other book. So here she's using some kind of like gauze, and these are, you can buy these. They're the kind of like fake leaves, if you like. But you can also use real leaves. Bit on colour, things to avoid, building up our textures, adding vibrancy. Now, I know that I followed this one because the picture is in my hallway by my front door. So there you go. I had a go at this one. And I think I had a go at this one as well. Deeper into abstraction. So there aren't, it's not about following projects in this one. She describes exercises for you to do, and then she gives an example of that. So I mean, I suppose in a way this one is very much, let me just double check here because I think this might be Magical Honesty. Right, this one is broken down. So establishing the texture underneath and how we do that, then adding some colour, then any inks and adjustments that we want to make, and then lights and details, so that we end up with this, which is glorious. So it looks like there are some examples in there, but mostly it's describing how to achieve something, and then she goes on to explain how she did that in a particular painting. So there we go. That one might be of interest. Painting abstract nature on canvas. What else have we got? We have got just 2 books left. So this one is called Brave Intuitive Painting. Let Go, Be Bold, Unfold. Techniques for Uncovering Your Own Unique Painting Style by Flora Bowley. This one might tell us when it was printed. First published 2012 in the United States of America. So we have got an introduction, let go, then be bold, then unfold. So let go, opening up to a world of creativity where anything is possible. Look at those surrounding her. Very abstract, very joyful to look at, I think, aren't they? They just fill you with a joy. The colours are just stunning, connecting with your intuition. So some of this is, you know, about how we look after ourselves as well as artists. Be brave, fearless living. So I think this is a little bit like a way of life almost. Be bold, working with wild abandon and committing to your aliveness. Basic tool list. Got some prompts. So yeah, talking about different things that you can use, and then some prompts on how to use them. Wrap the rag around the pointer finger and drag this finger through wet paint to reveal the colour underneath. Add wet paint to your canvas with the rag. So she's coming up with all these different ways of adding to your abstract paintings. Dip an object into fluid paint and then press it onto your canvas. Place your canvas on the floor and drip some fluid paint onto the canvas and then spray with water. A little bit about the colour wheel here and the different types of colours, the complementary, the analogous, the colour triads. Warm and cool colours, always an interesting thing for me. I see how some of them seem to sort of overlap, but I'm guessing that would be the warm and that would be the cool in this demonstration. Starting with the rainbow of colours. I mean, there are lots of colours, but they're all tonally correct. They all go, you know, match so well. We've even got some nice colour combinations that won't create mud. How about that? We don't really want to be creating mud, do we? So, yeah, and on. We've got lots and lots of ideas on how to change up your abstract paintings using lots and lots of different techniques and tips. So there we go. Brave Intuitive Painting, Flora Bowley. My final book today, after I've just had a quick sip of my cup of tea, is Colour Harmony for Artists, How to Transform Inspiration into Beautiful Watercolour Palettes and Paintings by Anna Victoria Calderon. I've mentioned her quite a lot in my last few videos, I think, because I've done a course on Domestika with her, and that was why I ended up buying this book, because I'm really into trying to work out the colour palettes that represent me almost. What's my colour palette? If we think of, if any of you follow Crixus, then hers is quite a warm, muted palette. Whereas Natasha Newton, her palette, until recently anyway, has tended to be more of a cool but muted palette. And quite often it's the colourways that we first see, together with the technique, I suppose, that tells us, oh, that's a Crixus painting, that's a Natasha Newton painting, for example. So I think I'm trying to find what mine is, and that's why I'm doing lots of these colour wheels and colour dots and working out kind of where my place is. And so far it tends to be more neutrals, but neutrals with a pop of colour somewhere, I think. But I'll keep going until I know a bit more. So this is what she calls hands-on colour theory. She talks about the colour wheel, colour harmonies. So this is monochromatic, i.e. we tend to think of black and white, but in actual fact it's just a colour and all the different tones of that colour. And she's used blue for this demonstration. We've got analogous, complementary. So an analogous is where they are all sitting next to each other on the colour wheel, and then complementary are the opposites. So our blue and our orange, our yellow and our purple, for example. Yeah, this is a slightly different, I mean, it would be green and red in a traditional colour wheel. We've got split complementaries. What I like is that there are these drawings, triadic and then tetradic. So it's, you know, obviously they could be anywhere going round in the circle, but I love the fact that this has all been broken down like this rather than just described. I'm quite a visual person. So I really like that. Then we've got colour and temperature. So she's showing her idea of some warm colours swatched out at the top there. Then we've got cool colours. And then, yep, that's what I'm drawn to. Those neutral colours at the bottom there. And she does, you know, mention that, you know, violet can go both ways. And, you know, sometimes yellow can as well. So using colours as a creative tool. I mean, we've got the same picture here, but this one has been done in these warm colours and this one has been done in these cool colours. And that's the drawing that she used, and she's suggesting that you have a go, you do your painting. You could use that as a template, I suppose, if you scanned it in and made it bigger. But do a painting and do it with different variations on the warm, cool or neutral colour palettes. She talks about the watercolour paints that she uses for swatching. These are the pans, and then she talks about the tubes that she likes to use, and she also likes to use liquid watercolours. She says that the Dr. P.H. Martins are the best. They're not something that's particularly easy to get other than in sets here in the UK, so it's not something that I would find easy to get. But in any case, then we've got some inspired palettes. So this is Austere de Stigl, or however you pronounce that. Not something that I was aware of particularly. So this is looking at art history and the types of you know, or the styles of painting, if you like. This was Dutch art. Sometimes, oh, here we go, also known as neoplasticism. Strict rules. So you can only use vertical and horizontal lines and rectangular shapes in black, white, grey and primary colours, i.e. your red, blue and yellow. So these are kind of examples. And so this is her basing a colour palette on this particular style of painting. And then we've got Impressionism. So immediately think of Monet, don't we? Claude Monet. And so she's come up with a colour palette that would be typically impressionistic. So then we've got the Art Nouveau. And that very much reminds me of that Art Nouveau palette. The oh, which one is it? You know, with the big pans. Why can't I think of it? Anyway, it'll come back to me. I've got that palette, and it is a beautiful palette. Then we've got pop art. And you know, the pop art was very bright and colourful, and here's her idea of that kind of a palette. We've got the ornamental arts. This is like a William Morris print. And then that kind of a palette. So she's already pulled all these palettes ready for us to use, if you like. The cosmic magic kind of palette. And there you go. Some colours there that would go with that. Then we've got the glowing sunset kind of palette. And the northern lights. And I love the fact that, you know, she does this little painting at the bottom. We've got the pastel sunrise. We've got lightning storm. I actually really like that one. I might be having to have a go at that. What are these called? Matryoshka dolls. They're the Russian dolls that go into each other. And those kinds of colours. We've got African geometric textiles. And that kind of palette. And I won't go on, but you can see you have got all these different colour palettes already done for you, or that you could tweak yourself. And I think it's a rather lovely idea to have all of that. Oh, that's rather nice. Oh, and there, gosh, she does give you that big template in the back there, look, for you to try out warm, cool, neutral colourways. I think it's a really lovely book, and I think that her course is actually very good on Domestika. So that is Colour Harmony for Artists, Anna Victoria Calderon. We had 3 kind of abstract art books. We had this one, which was very much watercolour and follow each project with lovely drawings, and then how to do the paints as well. So if you want step by step by step, that one is a brilliant one. And then this lovely bargain of the month, The Joy of Watercolour, which is just like a whole Bible of, you know, using watercolour and, you know, using your sketchbook as a workbook. And I think that's wonderful. So there we are. Those are my recommendation of books for this August 2024. I hope that there was something in there that you take a fancy to, that you might put on your birthday wish list, or your Christmas wish list. And yeah, that's something that has just made you think, yes, that one is going to be worth it. I hope that these book reviews are helpful anyway. So as usual, stay safe, stay healthy, and always try to stay calm. And yeah, I will see you next time, hopefully. But until then, just a big thank you for watching and subscribing and being part of a lovely community. Bye for now.